Hi, and welcome to the Hub Live Market Q&A with Rob Roy. Rob, how are you, mate?
Good, Manny. How are you today?
Good, thanks. Happy 4th, and I believe happy birthday as well to you, sir.
Yeah, it is. My grandfather was born on the 4th as well, and he always used to tell me when I was a kid, the whole country celebrates my birthday. So, yeah, a lot of fun. Thank you. Appreciate that.
That's fantastic. Well, good to be back. We had a week off last week, and everyone was scratching with their questions, going, "What do we do?" So, before we dive right in, don't forget to like and subscribe. The numbers are building every week in, week out. So, thank you for your support. So, Rob, why don't we kick off as usual with the cues?
Right. Yep. Every Friday we tend to do that, or well, I was off last week, but on Tuesday night's TradeFinder, we talked about the fact that we had this gap up. Now, if you were here the last few weeks before that, I'd been musing, if you will, about the possibility of having a little bit of window dressing moving into the end of the quarter, Friday ending on June 30th, with some funds that have been underperforming, and the fact that if they're going to show their results to their subscribers, which they do every quarter, or their investors, if you will, do they want to be, without NVIDIA, without the Super 7 stocks or magnificent, whatever you want to call them, the stocks that have been driving the market? And we did have a little bit of profit taking. We started off with a big move to the upside, then a little profit taking in those stocks. So some of the people that participated took some gains, and then we got that big gap up on Friday with those that jumped back in. And so whatever little pullback we had was erased. And then yesterday we moved back to the downside a little bit, almost a gap enough to create an island reversal. But in today's trade, we're back up. NVIDIA currently is up nearly $10. So we're back in vogue here. And it seems like all's well. So we also had a really weird start to the week. The first trading day of the month is when new money goes to work. People that are funding IRAs, 401ks through their dollar cost averaging programs, the investment managers put that money to work, usually on the first trading day of the month. Well, that happened to me on Monday, which was a half a day. And then we were closed, the markets on Tuesday for July 4th. So it's like, are they going to put it to work on Monday, or are they going to wait till Wednesday? And so it felt like then we got a little bit of a move down yesterday. But as I said, back up today to end the week. So no harm, no foul on what's occurred with both the window dressing and profit taking and the new money going to work. So far, we're still sitting here in the key level with all that we've gone through. We're pretty much where we started before all that stuff happened. And I think the key here that we have to watch is, can we break above this high from the wave 3 back on June 16th? You can see that the 10-day moving average has caught up. This consolidation here is healthy. I think the Fed has been unbelievably hawkish. The 10-year note has risen. Look for that as we talk about the market update a bit later on in the day and publish that for the weekend. We'll talk a bit more about that. So far, it hasn't seemed to affect the tech stocks, which I find pretty interesting. So I guess I would say, many on the cues, surprising strength today is how I would characterize the day.
Surprising strength. And you mentioned the Magnificent Seven, but the first question is already coming in. Manuel's asking about Meta, one of the seven. So what are your thoughts on Meta here?
Yeah, it's interesting on Meta. We had some commentary from the financial networks, which I thought was interesting. Some of the pundits that appear on the networks were talking about the fact that they liked Meta as long as Zuckerberg stayed away from talking about the metaverse, which is why they rechanged their name. So when they stay to the core business model is what they're talking about, and focus on that, because they've been spending a tremendous amount of money on the metaverse, and they seem to have backed off that a little bit. They don't talk about it so much in the earnings calls afterwards, and you can see a pretty amazing performance of the stock moving to the upside. Now, the concern that I have about Meta right now is that we're hitting one of those big levels. So we're in a wave 3, but we've had that 45-degree angle climb, which is my favorite setup when you're having a directional move. this is as good as it gets when you see this. And the reason for that is we know the markets move in impulses and corrections. That's the basis of Elliott wave as it is, trying to measure impulses and corrections and where they're going to go. When you have a trending move in a 45-degree angle, the corrections tend to be much less. And that's why I like the 45-degree angle. And you can see we've still had some corrective moves throughout this trending move to the upside, but they've not been significant, and the trend has continued. However, with all that said, we've reached that 300 level. We've got a wave 3 that at some point will start the wave 4. I like to look at the DMI as a measurement of strength, and it's just been hovering above that 40 level for quite some time. And when you do that, it just tells you there's continued strength, and we really could look for the potential. I'm still cautious about this 300 level. Because it's such a round number, but you can be cautiously, the term we've been using for a while, Mehdi, but cautiously optimistic on Meta unless that ADX breaks back below 40. Once that occurs, as evidenced by the rules of the DMI, when the ADX breaks back below 40, that's the end of the current trending move. So how far does the wave 3 go? Obviously, we've had a little resistance here at 300. Can it go higher than that? Perhaps. But keep an eye on the ADX, and when that ADX, the black line, breaks below 40, then that's when you'd want to take gains. But I think if you've been involved in this move, it would be smart to go ahead and tighten some stops and watch it and see where we go from here. But certainly, as long as we stay above the 10-day moving average, which you can see we've traveled along for quite some time here in Meta, I think you can stay long there.
That's great. And obviously, they announced their launch of Threads yesterday, and they had something like 17 million people sign up for it within 24 hours. So, maybe that helps them keep some momentum going. But good for them. They're going after Elon Musk and Twitter, it seems.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And even Mark Zuckerberg said that it was way more than what they expected. So it exceeded their expectations, I believe, were the exact words that he used on how many people that they had subscribed. So, yeah.
Well, definitely one for the radar. And I can't skip out on Fluffy Lolita. She's asking about Coinbase. We were talking about this a couple of weeks ago as well.
We were, and it's nice that it's been brought up again because we seem to have had a little bit of a regulatory break here. It seems like they're going to back off a little bit, and that's been the issue. I think I made a comment a few times that it's just so hard to trade this one because you didn't know when some sort of a new, message was going to come out, new threat or whatever from the regulators. But they've backed off that, so that seems to be all clear, green light. We've traded above 70 now, broken above that resistance level. So we were in the channel throughout that whole time of when are we going to get another negative headline from the regulators? But that's over with. So we've had a nice break with follow through above 70. Now, the key here on coin is that we are at those recent highs. So we had the high back in January with no follow through day, ran back down. So we had a break up here again in March, no follow through, ran back down. So we're trying again. So can we get the follow through here to break above this 85 level? And if we do, then I think we could be off to the races here on coin, not to mention the fact that we're in that seasonally positive time for Bitcoin. Y'all make fun of me, halving, I don't know what the pronunciation of the word is, but that process that Bitcoin goes through periodically, which is going to be in the first quarter of next year, historically around 9 months before that, every time so far, Bitcoin has taken off on a run. And you would think that it would likely bring coin with it. So the fact that the regulators have backed off, nice break above 70. If you haven't participated in this part of the move yet, though, I would say just hang on there. We're a tiny bit overbought from the 10-day moving average. Let's let it break above 85 with some follow through, because if it can do that, and the reason I say that is look how well the DMI is setting up. Getting good separation between the two directional indicators. The ADX is moving up. It's only at 25. So that's telling you that this move has strength and it's in its infancy. So let's let it break above 85 with follow through. And then I think you have plenty of time to take at least a run at 100 before it runs into any sort of resistance. So yeah, for the first time in a number of weeks, Mehdi, I'm pretty constructive on coin here now. And I think people want to watch. I just feel like it might bump its head a little bit there around 85, and that's not so far away. So maybe we just kind of keep that on the radar. And once it does break that, if the DMI still continues to be so supportive, yeah, that could be a really nice place to be. That's a
And Rob,
good question.
so Rob, just while we're on Coinbase, can we have a look at Bitcoin as well, just to see how it all ties in?
Yeah, and Bitcoin has been, I think, pretty darn strong with everything that's been going on in that world. It broke vertically to the upside. I made the commentary a couple of times that you did not want to see Bitcoin take off above 31,000 after this vertical move. Vertical moves tend not to hold. If you break a major point of resistance, moving average out of a triangle, whatever, when you're already overbought, those tend not to hold. So the ideal scenario was for Bitcoin to consolidate, and that's exactly what it's done. So we're going back and forth here, right above 30,000, but as long as Bitcoin can stay above 30,000, and it's having a decent day today, as long as we can stay above 30,000, this is the end of day chart from last night, but it's back up again today. Once we break above that 31,000 level, then it could be off to the races again. So if you're long Bitcoin, along the cryptos, you're looking at that halving coming up and the history behind there that we just talked about. This is ideal, this consolidation here. And then we're free now to break above 31,000. I think that consolidation was what I was looking for. You can see the ADX is starting to move back higher. I think at the end of the day, because remember, these charts are from the hypothetical end of day quote. I know trades 24/7 for all of you that are watching us for the first time or so, but I really think we're going to see a big tick up in that positive directional indicator following today's move. And I think we might be setting ourselves up to break above that 31,000, then we could be off to the races. So pretty constructive on Bitcoin, the main crypto. Some of the other ones don't seem to be following along. Ethereum, some of those others seem to be participating pretty well. So I think if you stay with the big boys and Coinbase in this space, this could be a pretty good end of the year run for you.
That's great, and obviously there's been BlackRock and some others applying for cash ETFs, which is a big deal. And consensus feels that BlackRock might be onto something. It might get one by the SEC, but we'll see what happens. So
you brought that up a couple of weeks ago, Mehdi, and I think you're spot on there. And BlackRock, they're smart, and there's a lot of fund managers out there that I don't necessarily think have their pedigree, but when they tend to do something, people pay attention. And if they can get it through the regulators, as you said, yeah, I think they're looking at that timing as well, because again, a lot of smart people there. So yeah, I think you're correct on that. And mentioning that, you called that a couple of weeks ago.
Well, we're all watching. We've got Ren into us. He's wishing you a happy birthday, and he's bringing up Mr. Softy, our old friend at Microsoft.
Oh, good old Mr. Softy. Thank you for the birthday wish. Appreciate it. And so we'll take a look at Microsoft. This one is one that had gotten just a little bit to the point with this last vertical move higher. I was concerned, was that a blow off top? The FOMO, fear of missing out. We'd had a really nice run here again in the 45-degree angle, which, as I said, those tend not to get the significant corrections. And then we had this big vertical move here, and it's like, is that the blow off top? Is that the end of the move? But once again, some really good consolidation, and this is interesting to me. So it's a positive and a negative here. We've held this 340 level in here pretty darn well. That's surprising to me, because I would have expected perhaps at least to pull back to the 50-day moving average following this last little tick higher here. It hasn't happened yet. 340 is held. Now the ADX has been going lower, but you could argue the fact that, okay, it's going lower because we've been consolidating, other than this little spike here, for the better part of 6 weeks maybe here on Microsoft in this 340 level, and that would be expected. Now what I would like to see is if we do start to move higher here in Microsoft, and let's see if we can get an updated quote today here on it, that perhaps we can get that positive directional indicator to turn and move back to the upside, and then perhaps the ADX turns and runs with it. And let's see what it's given us yesterday's quote there, but we'll get today's current on Mr. Softy, and that's hang on one sec. Typing too fast.
That's well, let the fingers do the talking, the walking.
So it's down today, $1.50. So not making that break to the upside yet today, which is kind of evident by the fact that the positive directional indicator has been moving lower. So it's hanging right there at that 340 level. So the key is going to be if it can break above 340, does the DMI start to turn and show some strength? Right now, what you're seeing here, if you're wondering, well, what is this showing? Is showing consolidation. When you have the ADX diving down like that, and you have the two directional indicators coming together, if you're a Bollinger Bands fan, that would be a similar scenario. When you see the Bollinger Bands squeeze together, as well as Wilder called it, you see the same type of scenario out of the two directional indicators. So everything is indicating consolidation here out of Microsoft. So does that mean we're going to break and take off again, or does that mean we're going to break and move lower? So I think I'm neutral on Microsoft right now until we get a better signal. And as I said, it's not participating in the market move to the upside today. But you know, consolidating a big run is not necessarily a bad thing, with the fact that it hasn't broken down towards 320, which is where I thought it probably would go after this move here on what was that day, the June 15th.
There we go. Another one that's been in the press, obviously, on and off forever and ever, NVIDIA. And it seems to be coming in and out of favor. There's some upgrades. There's some people calling caution. But what do you think here?
Well, today is having a nice day. Today, you can see there's today's quote. And it's actually up a little bit more than that. We update these live quotes every 20 minutes here. So as of right now, it's up $10. So we're showing up 7 here. So it's even a bit higher than this. Now the concern is that we had the ADX break that 40 level, and that normally tells you that's the end of the move. Little bit of you know, kind of trying to read the go a little slower here. I say so much and try to talk too fast, but a little reading between the lines here. I think you would be concerned normally with the ADX breaking below 40, but you can see how the two directional indicators that have come together are now spreading back apart. And so we're getting certainly some buying interest today, legit buying on some decent volume. If you look at the chart, especially earlier in the day, and then some spikes intraday. So there's some support here. And the fact that we're holding 420, I think that's the key you need to watch. And I know that's a really tight kind of stop there, but as you said, Manny, it's had one heck of a run. And so wanting to give it an opportunity to hold this 420 level and take off some more. If we go wider here, the Elliott wave algorithm likes up above 520, which is still another 100 points from here. Now, the key is, does the wave 3 run there, or do we get the wave 4 pullback first and then down the road we run there? So when you see those targets, there's something in the algorithm that likes that price point. And if you've been watching before with our Elliott wave analysis, when you're in a wave 3, you can sometimes run to that target and then correct, or you could correct first. But as long as we can stay above 420 and we have a constructive day today, you'd love to see that ADX turn after today's close. That won't update till the end of the day. But if it turns, then you can see that there may be another run here in NVIDIA. So if you've been in it, if you're still holding it, I like that tight stop at 420. If it breaks below that, anything can happen. Got to keep in the back of your mind this big gap here at some point, but there's a chance that it could make another run here. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, people, you know, people were calling caution, but there were some upgrades out today. I think I saw a price target of $560 from someone. So, you know, people are still on the bandwagon. So, you know, as you say, why with a tight loss, a tight stop?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You trade what the charts tell you, and as long as it's above that 420 level, I participate in some sort of. I mean, it's I'm looking at the live chart, and it's backed off a couple times today, and it's running again. So it's nearly up 11. So yeah.
There we go. A slightly different one into the solar space. Manuel asking about First Solar, FSLR.
Yeah, gosh, this was a blast from the past. I remember the days when we used to look at this all the time, First Solar, and it's just been in massive consolidation range here. And I think when we talked about this last time with this 180 level, that if you wanted to take a kind of a speculative, like LA Wave Options, EvoTrader.com, we have different portfolios. We have a speculative one that's just for particular things that don't necessarily follow our guideline rules for putting on alerts, and something along these lines would fall into that area. When you look at 180 here, there's a tremendous amount of support. So we came down to 180 back on the 26th of June. We ran up, but it couldn't break that 50-day moving average, which is the royal blue line. We're down testing that again. We didn't really get any confirmation out of the DMI here, and so there wasn't enough strength to break it, but we're coming down to test 180 again. So if you wanted to take another speculative shot to see, can we hold 180 here and turn and move back to the upside, perhaps we can. But if we break below 180, then I think at that point in time, you're out because it's probably headed to 160 there. So this could be a speculative one with a tight stop, and then and see what happens from there. But yeah, 180 is the key. And if you can get it above the 50-day moving average, it's probably going to 200. And if you can somehow get it above 200, then it's off to the races. But it's got a lot of headwinds there, and a bit of support. So just kind of channeling along here with good old First Solar.
Perfect. Away from Tesla, surprisingly, being asked about Lucid. That seems to be popping up more and more often. SLCID.
Yeah, and Lucid has had some positive news, and you can see that pretty nice little bounce here. Came back to test the 7 level, and holding right through here, right at this 7 level, and a bit of a bounce back higher. And if we can get above 8, and I was asked this during TradeFinder as well. So the key here on Lucid is if we can get above 8, if we can get that price above 8, then I think it's off to the races. And I had posted, they took a snippet out of the market update where I was saying that I liked the car more than the stock. And that's just because it's kind of a pretty nice looking car. So right now we are up 50 cents today. So we're at 750. If we can break above 8. So I just feel like, you look at that move and you want to get involved in it, but I think be cautious here. And if we can break above 8, then you have a nice run ahead, and there's a gap. So we could get back towards 10, which is so important from an institutional standpoint. We've got a gap that needs to be filled, but I think you just got to be enjoying today's move, but just from a spectator standpoint, and watch. If we can break above 8 with follow through, I think you likely go to 10, but it's a watch and see for me at this point. The ADX needing to break above 20 here. Perhaps it does that at the end of the day today with what's going on in today's move.
All right, watch and see on Lucid. All right, Rob, got to ask you, what about Tesla then?
How do you bet against this one? And Tesla with this move up, they had the news over the weekend that this is supposedly what most of the analysts watch, is the fact that they had more deliveries than expected. So it's not expectations, whatever. It was actual deliveries, where I think 20,000 plus more cars than what was forecast. So that gave the big gap up. I hate the gap ups because then that has to at least be consolidated, if not retraced. So right now Tesla's up a couple dollars. And my comment here is that we're trading here around 280, which is where we are right now. It's hard to imagine that we're going to get right here and not go hit 300. I've always used in the past the tractor beam, the Star Trek analogy, where those big round numbers just seem to draw the stocks to them. and it would be difficult for me to imagine. But hey, the market surprised me before that we get this close and don't at least hit 300. But with that big run, you know, that unprecedented 13-day in a row to the upside run, and then once again looking, was that a blow off top with the delivery numbers? You want to see it break back above 280. If it can get back above 280, then I think we hit that 300 level. But then I think we have to really take a hard look at how much could be left in Tesla. So perhaps a little bit more to the upside on Tesla, but at 300, I think we have to take a good hard look at what could be left.
Well, and also all the other EV manufacturers are starting to jump onto their charging stations as well. So I'm sure that's going to help with more and more revenue stream for the Tesla guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got an interesting one. I guess we've been very focused on the large caps. Someone's asking about the Russell 2000, please.
Yeah, and that, last night in our insiders meeting for alert subscribers, we talked about if you're looking for some sort of an indication of risk on, risk off. We talked about it earlier here, Mehdi, where we had the oddness of the first trading day of the month being a half trading day. We had the end of quarter and a new trade, all those things going on. And now we've gotten past that. We're at the end of the week. But if you look at the IWM as an indicator of risk on, risk off, we had been in that trading range from 170 to 180 for so long. And the 170 to 190 was the big range for over a year. We tightened that range, but we broke above it. We came down and tested it, which we had said on one of these broadcasts that we thought that needed to happen. So we ran up. We've kind of tested in that area of 190 twice. And right now we are at 186. So we're up over $3. So basically we filled this gap today. So that gap is filled. And now we're looking to see if we're going to go challenge 190 again. I think we've had a few of them today, Mehdi, where I think you're just sitting on your hands and waiting. Let the market come to you. Sometimes the best trade is no trade. And that, that may be counterintuitive, but it is true. And you don't want to force things. We have some setups here where we've got plenty of opportunities. And if we can break above 190 on the IWM, then we're going to at least run to 200. And then we have the old trading range between 190 and 210 that we could go to. So it's nice that we're filling that gap today. But, I think because we've bumped up towards 190 twice, it's a sign that there is some strength today and broadening of the rally, which I know a lot of people are looking for, getting away from the Super 7, Spectacular 7 that you and I have been talking about. But let it get above 190 with some follow through. And then I think we get a lot of good signals. We have some signals that there's a risk on environment here, and you have a continuation trade on the IWM. But I think caution right now. Let's see if there's follow through from today's move and if we can get above 190.
That's great. Rob, thank you so much. This has been great. And Harry, I love that you brought up the Russell 2000 because it really is interesting to talk about that broadening of the rally. So, Rob, I think we're out of time here, but thank you so much for chatting some stocks with us.
Thanks. It's great to be back again this week. Thanks, Mehdi. Appreciate it. And thanks for everyone that's watching and asked your questions. And I do agree, the IWM was a good way to end things as far as a good indication of risk on, risk off. And let's see what that 190 level brings us. And next time we chat, we'll see where we are. So thanks, everybody. Really appreciate you spending some of your Friday with us. Take care.
Thanks. And don't forget to join us 2 o'clock next Friday. Have a good one. Good luck investing.